My name is Arif Irfanullah, and what you are about to hear is a short sales pitch on why you should consider buying my CFA videos. First, a quick introduction. I have a bachelor's in engineering from Dartmouth College and an MBA in finance from the University of Chicago. I have about 17 years of work experience, mostly in the United States and over the last few years in the Middle East and Pakistan. After graduating from college, I worked for Oracle for several years, implementing Oracle's financial applications across the US, did some assignments in Europe also, and then in early 2000 I joined Mindtree, where I was in charge of running the business in the northeast of the United States, and then I was head of Mindtree's Middle East region for a few years. In Pakistan, I worked for a risk management company called Alchemy, and then since 2008 I've been associated with IBA, which is one of Pakistan's leading business schools. In terms of teaching experience, as I mentioned earlier, I've been with IBA since 2008, and I also started teaching CFA or running CFA classes in 2008. So a quick overview of what I will cover. First, I'll talk about the CFA prep industry, then my approach and how it's different from the existing prep providers, the process that I use, my track record, and finally a conclusion. In terms of an industry overview, as you probably know, there are several players in the CFA prep provider business. The biggest one by far is Schweser. There are no official numbers as far as I have seen, but just based on anecdotal evidence and based on feedback from my students around the world, I'd estimate that Schweser has about 80% of the market share. Other players include Stala, and then there are several other providers. Now, what is the typical strategy of these existing players? And I will generally pick on Schweser because they are the 800-pound gorilla of this market. Now, most of these players, especially the larger ones, will provide study notes, which effectively are a summary of the curriculum, and these are quite popular, used all over the world. These providers also often come up with practice questions. Schweser, for example, has a QBank, which is again fairly popular, and many of these prep providers also offer video classes. Generally, and I can speak mostly for Schweser because I have seen their notes, and in fact when I prepared for the CFA exams I also used Schweser at the time. So my feeling is that Schweser notes are generally quite good, but having spent a lot of time with the CFA material over the last few years, I feel there are some issues. First issue is that when you start working with, say, Schweser notes or Stala notes, then these providers tend to keep you away from the curriculum. So they will provide you with notes, practice questions, and so on, which keep you away from the curriculum. And this is a strategy that probably worked in the past, but I think it's going to be harder and harder to pass the exams without also using the curriculum, and there will be more on this later. Another issue that I have noticed is that when a prep provider gives you practice questions, those questions are often tied to their own notes, which makes sense because obviously it would not make sense to have questions that are not related to the notes. And at times the notes don't do justice to what's in the curriculum. So I have seen cases where important topics from the curriculum have not been given due attention, and then also the questions then do not cover those topics. So I'm not saying that one should not use notes. There is still value because they do a good job of summarizing the curriculum, but it is important to also have the curriculum as part of your study program for the CFA exams. Now, how is my approach different? In my video lectures, I focus on the curriculum. So essentially the curriculum provides a lot of material and I simply follow the flow and basically indicate all the headings and subheadings in the curriculum. And actually another issue with notes is that they often are just focused on learning objective statements, and so even though the learning objectives are covered, but when you are reading a Schwezer or a Scala, you sometimes don't get a nice flow because all they are doing is just zeroing in on the learning objectives. So what I do is I simply follow the curriculum, and obviously if I'm following all the sections in the curriculum, then we are covering all the topics. And recognizing that the curriculum has a tremendous amount of material, based on my experience, I focus on the most important concepts, most important points from a testability perspective. I have seen that the examples that the curriculum gives are generally excellent, and many questions on the exam, I'm sure, are based on the examples that the curriculum offers. So in my video lectures, I make sure that students see those examples and try to understand them. If I don't explicitly cover an example, I definitely encourage my students to hear the lecture and then carefully go through the examples in the curriculum. Also, the practice problems at the end of every reading in the curriculum are absolutely essential and the best possible practice for what you will get on the actual exam. So again, I insist on my students doing the practice problems several times before the actual exam. The quality of these practice problems is considerably better than any problems that you will get from other prep providers. So hopefully you get the core point that my video lectures are focused on the curriculum. Now, what exactly do you get when you sign up for my video lectures? You get the video lectures, obviously, plus you get the lecture slides in PDF format that I use when I create the video lectures. And after every topic, I run a quiz for that topic, and those who sign up for my video classes will also get that quiz along with the solution. Now, what you do not get is extra practice questions from me, and I think that's actually a good thing, because as I alluded to earlier, there is almost a conflict of interest when a prep provider is, let's say, selling you his videos and notes and then also selling you questions. I think it's much better that you, let's say, hear my videos or go through the curriculum and then answer the questions in the curriculum, and then if you need more practice, then you can look around and get practice questions from other sources, because if you've learned from source A, then it makes sense to validate that what you have learned is indeed good and effective. You can validate that by doing questions from sources B and C. So that's why I don't provide questions. There are enough players out there who provide you with additional questions, so those are generally easy to get. Plus, another thing that I would recommend is to try to get older versions of the CFA mock exams, and I think they are extremely useful. In the last month before your actual exam, the CFA Institute will provide you with a mock exam, and that is absolutely essential. In fact, they also provide sample exams that I think are the best possible practice for your actual exam. So basically, you do not get extra questions from me. You also, at least at this stage, I don't offer one-on-one FaceTime, maybe in the future. Plus, if you have specific questions, at least at this point in time, I do not have the bandwidth to answer individual questions. Though you are welcome to send me emails, and I will do my best to answer, but that's not a commitment. The process that I follow is quite straightforward. I run CFA classes in Karachi, Pakistan, and I essentially record my class. My team then edits the video to make sure that it is suitable for my video students, and we basically produce the video in MP4 format, and then we place that video on Google Docs, and the slides that are used with the video are also placed on Google Docs. A link to these to the video as well as the slides, actually a link to the video is placed on my website. So once you sign up, you basically get access to Google Docs, which means that you can just go to my website, click on the links and be able to hear the lectures. If you want, you can also download my videos. In terms of my track record, I started teaching, I started running CFA classes in 2008. Initially had a pass rate of about 50%, but over the years this has improved a lot. My June 2011 batch had a pass rate of 100%, and I need to qualify this because I had a batch of about 20 people, and of these 20, there were 10 who started from the beginning. They studied hard, followed my instructions, did the practice that they needed to do, and essentially those people who did what I asked them to do and studied hard and were diligent, all of them passed. Of the remainder, a few passed, a few didn't pass, but I'm here giving the results of the people who followed the instructions they were given. Now, why this high pass rate? Well, my feeling is that over the years I have studied carefully the curriculum questions and the mock exam questions, so I have a sense for the type of material that students will see on the actual exam. And even though the curriculum has a tremendous amount of material, students who pass are those who have a good grasp on the core concepts and then have done a lot of practice. And if you do those two things, and I keep emphasizing these two areas as I run the course, so students who do that, get the core concepts and then do a lot of practice, they pass. I have seen some really smart students who get hung up in the details, spend a lot of time reading the curriculum but do not practice enough, and their track record is not so good. So the key is to get the core points and then to practice a lot of the CFA type questions. As some of you probably know, I have placed a lot. In fact, for the 2011 level 1 exam, I put the entire video recording on YouTube. So I don't think anybody else in the world has done that. These videos were, I don't think completely comprehensive, but they did a reasonable job of covering the core concepts of from every single reading, and the feedback on those videos was tremendous. I started doing this in July 2011, and by end of November, early December, which is when the exam took place, there were almost 50,000 views from all over the world. So that encouraged me to do this on a larger scale, which is why I am now creating probably I hope better quality videos for 2012, and I'm doing both level 1 and level 2. So this is my concluding slide, where I will just make a pitch on why it might make sense for you to buy my videos. First of all, you can try before you buy. You can listen to the 2011 lectures and determine whether my teaching style works for you. And for 2012, I've made some of the level 2 videos free, and you can listen to those and figure out whether my teaching works for you and whether it will be useful or not. For level 1 2012 also, I made some videos freely available, so you can listen to those. I believe that my videos offer you excellent value because the cost is much lower relative to other prep providers. And another core point is that if you use my video lectures, you don't really need to buy notes from Schwezer or other prep providers. As you listen to my video lectures, as long as you have the curriculum open in front of you and maybe a hard copy of the lecture notes, then essentially you can just make notes and highlight the core points in your curriculum, and then practice the examples and then the practice problems at the end, and you are in fairly good shape. Now this doesn't mean that I'm discouraging you from buying Schwezer notes or some other notes. Some people actually find it useful to have a summary of the curriculum, and if you feel like buying Schwezer notes or some other notes, you can definitely do that. So it's really up to you. Another, I think, differentiating feature about what I do is that I let you buy individual topics. So for example, if you just need help in derivatives or fixed income, you can simply buy those particular topics. Also, my videos are downloadable. Other prep providers are now mostly making their videos available through a streaming medium, which means that they are not downloadable. But many of my students are in areas without strong internet connections, so it makes sense to simply be able to download the videos and then listen to them anytime, anywhere. For those who join my class, video classes early, you can essentially follow a schedule, in the sense that since I make videos available as I run my class in Karachi, if you become part of my video class, you are basically effectively going to follow the schedule that I follow with my regular students in my class. And the goal is that schedule actually is on my website, so you can look at both the level 1 and the level 2 schedule. The goal is for both level 1 and level 2 to be done a month before the actual exam, and then the last 4 weeks to 1 month can be spent doing a lot of practice and revision. And people who essentially finish the course about 4 weeks before the exam and then practice hard in the last 4 weeks or so, they generally tend to pass. Just one final remark. A lot of people have asked me that if I have made the entire 2011 level 1 lectures available, then why buy the 2012? And actually this is completely up to you. What I am doing in 2012 level 1 is for topics that have changed, such as economics. I obviously am redoing those lectures, and other topics that have not changed, there I plan to complement what I have already done. So for example, let's say time value of money in 2011 and 2012 is exactly the same. So in 2011 you will notice that I've covered the core concepts. In my 2012 version, when I get to it, I am going to just add a lot of examples and apply those concepts. And when I do that lecture, I will make some available so that people can first listen to that and then decide whether or not to buy. So that is it. Please visit my website, and there is a tremendous amount of material there for you to learn. If you feel like you want to buy the lectures, you can simply purchase them online, and within a few hours of your purchase, you will be given access to the lectures and the slides. Good luck.